When we speak of social mobility or inequality, we often talk about wages, jobs, housing, even cars. But we talk less about how socioeconomic backgrounds also shape health, education, and opportunity across a lifetime. And the data is stark. In the domain of health, a 25-year-old Singaporean with below secondary education can expect to live almost 6 years less than a peer with higher education. 6 years less time with their loved ones. Those with primary education are up to 3 times more likely to have diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. Residents in rental flats are hospitalized and readmitted more often, even after adjusting for their conditions. And preventive care, the very thing that could break the cycle, is patchier, with fewer screenings, fewer follow-ups, fewer regular doctors. But behind these statistics are people. Like my Woodlands resident, Mr. K, a lift technician and father of 2 who came to my MPS to appeal some parking fines. His wife had walked out of the family. He works nights, so he brings his children along. They wait in the car in the unloading bay, hence the parking tickets, while he does his work. This happens a few times every night. His children lose sleep, lose focus in school, and sometimes they skip school. He himself suffers from depression, but cannot afford treatment. Or Miss S, living with chronic mental illness and hypertension, she wants to work, but her workplace makes no accommodations. Each day she cannot bring herself to go into work, she slips further away from stability she craves. Or Mr. Z, whose wife has diabetes. When the dialysis center in Woodlands was closed for renovations and her dialysis treatments were transferred to Ghim Moh, their transport subsidy lapsed. Months of trying to reapply failed. In despair, he asked me, should I just stop taking her and let her die? Mr. Speaker, when poor income, poor health, and poor education reinforce each other, the cycle of disadvantage is brutal. And breaking this cycle must be a most urgent duty. We have strong foundations. Kids Start supports parents and children from the earliest years. Uplift narrows achievement gaps, improves attendance and well-being. Grow Well SG and Healthier SG help families build healthier habits and access preventive care. And Age Well SG keeps our seniors active. And ComLink Plus brings in family coaches and progress packages. Each is valuable, but support today is still too fragmented. Families face many schemes, many offices, many forms that strain their already strained mental bandwidth. There's a lot of coordination and referrals, fewer active interventions. Too much is left to chance, whether a child or senior shows up for vaccination, whether a family completes a form correctly. What we need are not more and more piecemeal programs, but joined up longitudinal pathways that follow a family through an extended period of time, structured where necessary, empowering where possible, that provide support while building personal agency, pathways that ensure no child, no parent, no senior falls through the cracks. I propose 3 pathways: an education pathway, a health pathway, and a career pathway, all linked together with ComLink Plus. First, the education pathway. We know early childhood education is one of the strongest levers of social mobility. Yet today, about 1 in 4 children from ComLink Plus families don't attend preschool regularly. That is too high. It is time that we make preschool the default for ComLink Plus families, unless they opt out. And the journey should not stop there. It must continue through primary and secondary school, not only after school and tuition, but also enrichment in arts, sports, and coding, because talent is not the exclusive domain of the wealthy and must not be capped by income. Integration between Kids Start, Uplift, and ComLink Plus must be seamless. No 6-month gaps, no missed transitions. A child's progress should be tracked with early interventions when they fall behind, whether in literacy, attendance, or well-being. The goal is not just to graduate more students, but to graduate them resilient and ready to seize the opportunity. Secondly, a health pathway. Here too, we need integration. From Kids Start to Grow Well SG to Healthier SG to Age Well SG, a continuum of care, one longitudinal journey. Family coaches or dedicated health coaches must go beyond health coordination and referrals. They must actively intervene. If a child misses a vaccination, reschedule it. If medication is not taken, find out why. If meals are not nutritious, connect the family to food support. Families graduate only when children are healthy, with acceptable BMI and vaccinations. Adults are enrolled in Healthier SG and adhering to chronic disease plans, and the family has demonstrated health literacy and food security. And for working adults, let us pilot health-secure jobs, workplaces where chronic illnesses or caregiving duties do not mean job losses. Instead, MOH and MOM partner with employers to keep workers employed in jobs while managing conditions like diabetes or depression, because health must not mean unemployment. Third, a career pathway. Employment remains the engine of mobility. The ComLink Plus employment package is a step forward with coaching, training, retention initiatives, and wraparound support. But we must aim even higher. Jobs should not just be any job. They must provide progression, skill, dignity, and build confidence. Here we can learn from the US program Year Up, which offers 6 months of intensive training, tuition-free, in skills that today's employers need, followed by 6 months of corporate internships, coupled with mentorship, coaching, professional development, and the possibility of college credit for coursework, along with stipends and other support services and essential resources, such as housing, food, transportation, and childcare, to remove any barriers to participant success. Its graduates earn significantly more, 30% more, than similar peers who did not participate 6 years later. And while the program structure is very resource intensive, over a 7-year study period, every $1 spent on Year Up produced a $2.46 benefit to society, a good ROI. We could roll this out in Singapore, where a young person from a disadvantaged family who once felt locked out of opportunity gains not only skills and networks, but also confidence, dignity, and hope. I believe talent is everywhere. Opportunity is sometimes not, but we can build this. The 3 pathways, education, healthcare, and career, cannot stand alone. They must be linked and linked by ComLink Plus. If a child struggles in school, it should trigger a check on nutrition or sleep. If health appointments are missed, it should prompt a check on school or work attendance, because no one lives lives in silos, and neither should our policies. Housing is a good example. For individuals or families facing homelessness, unstable arrangements, or constant conflicts at home, or those who are returning from prison or institutionalization, providing stable housing by granting that rental flat or allowing that third HDB loan, it's not just about shelter. It is a health intervention, it is an education intervention, it is a social intervention. And policy must empower our officers to act holistically and not within narrow silos. If we can link the pathways effectively, we should end up achieving more by doing less. Without linking them, each silo can feel like it is pushing on a string. Much effort, little outcomes, and gets pressured to invest even more in its own silo. Underpinning all of this is our care workforce. Family coaches, social workers, healthcare teams. They are the ones who journey alongside families on each pathway, not for weeks, but for years. Studies have shown how having that one mentoring figure whom you have a genuine connection with, a genuine relationship, can make all the difference in changing the lives of a low-income person. We must invest in their training, understand their workload, and reward them fairly. We must select and empower them to be not just caseworkers, but life changers. Mr. Speaker, I also want to address a point raised by the honourable member, Mr. Fadli Fauzi, in his maiden speech yesterday, which he delivered in Malay. I listened quite carefully to it. He paints meritocracy as corrosive, an ideological belief to justify and explain away inequality and the lot of those left behind. I must disagree. Meritocracy in Singapore is not an ideology. It is a principle of fairness. The danger is not in practicing meritocracy, but abandoning it. Because success would depend then not on effort or talent, but on connections and privilege. That is not a we-first society. That is a some-first society. Our meritocracy is not a perfect system, and that is why we are here, to refine it, to strengthen it, to make sure that meritocracy in Singapore remains fair and real, not just in principle, but in practice. And the truth is, meritocracy in Singapore has never stood still. We have broadened and deepened the definition of meritocracy precisely to address the risks Mr. Fadli raised. Let me elaborate on how this has played out in practice. First, merit is no longer exclusively seen through your exam scores and the schools you go to. Today, we have multiple pathways: university, poly, ITE, skills future. We have subject-based banding. Success is not one size fits all. Second, we have moved from equal treatment to equitable support. Those who have less get more help. I talked about Kids Start, Uplink, ComLink Plus earlier. Yes, we can push further, but all are designed to level the playing field. Third, we now explicitly recognize unequal starting points. This has been mentioned by both our Prime Minister and our President. Our policies deliberately give more subsidies in housing, healthcare, and education to lower-income families. And fourth, we also now recognize that merit is not just about individual effort, but is something shaped by community, family, and society. Many initiatives bring together government, volunteers, employers to uplift families together. And among the most visible are in our Malay community, where under the auspices of MQ Bat Towns, our Gotong Royong spirit shines through, whether it is in Club Matematika, Mendaki Tuition Scheme, or youth mentoring. And lastly, we celebrate values and character, not just grades or how much money you make. At every EduSafe Award, we give the Eagles Award and the ECA Award. Resilience, service, and contribution to society are part of how we define merit. What I have just described cannot possibly be seen as an elitist meritocracy. Ours is a progressive and compassionate meritocracy, one which recognizes effort and ability while also investing heavily in those with fewer advantages, and we keep improving. Framing meritocracy as an ideology risks dismissing these hard-won efforts. I do not discount that there are many families, including many in our Malay community, who are really struggling. I see them at my Meet the People session. I shared some of their stories today. But there are many issues at play that weigh families down regardless of effort or merit. And while we must keep improving our system, I hope we remember both Fadli and I are ourselves beneficiaries of Singapore's meritocracy. It is this system that enabled us, children from ordinary families, to study, to work, and now to serve in this House. So there is no need to disparage or dismiss the system that has uplifted and continues to uplift so many. And certainly there is no need to mischaracterize it to our community as promoting the belief that those who succeed are entitled to their success because they have worked hard, while those who are left behind deserve to be left behind because they have not worked hard enough. Firstly, I'm sure that, like me, Fadli has chosen this belief. But secondly, words like this do not help families who are struggling. What helps them is when we as leaders acknowledge the gaps honestly and work together on solutions. This includes lingering experiences of prejudice and discrimination, perceived or otherwise. Our work to strengthen our multiculturalism is itself a work in progress and must continue to go on. A we-first society is not built by tearing down the ladders of opportunity. It is built by strengthening them and adding rungs below so no one is left behind. Sir, when I entered this House 5 years ago, my primary motivation was clear: to keep social mobility alive. This is not an abstract goal to me, my own journey, and I know that many in this chamber and many, many more outside this chamber. And it's proof of what Singapore has made possible. But 60 years after independence, our society has changed. If we do nothing, cycles of disadvantages will harden. But if we act boldly, we can give dignity, stability, and hope to every family, no matter their starting point, and benefit from the talents of our only natural resource, our people. So we must be more ambitious. And that is why I rise today, to urge us to look harder at the evidence, to think deeper about the gaps, and to act with courage, using my vantage point as chair for the Health GPC, a member of the MSF GPC, and a past member of the Education GPC. The Minister of Health, who is also now the coordinating minister for social policy, happens to be my anchor minister in Sembawang GRC. And I seek his understanding that no matter how good a job the government is doing on this topic, I will always press for us to do more, to do better. Because social mobility is not just a policy goal, it is the promise of Singapore. Mr. Speaker, it is an enormous honor to stand here in this House again. I look forward to working with members of this House to heed the President's call. Thank you.